There are a lot of rumors out there involving the New York Jets. So, what's real, what's not, as we are yet another day closer to the NFL draft. Our guest today is one of the best. Will Parkinson from Turn on the Jets joins us to talk all things Jets. So, let's quote Ron Middleton, hit it and get it started. Hit it! Welcome in, everyone. My name is Jake Asman. This is the Jake Asman Show. The Jets just had one of their greatest wins in the last 20-something years, and we're going to break it all down. Zach Wilson, Robert Saleh, C.J. Mosley, Joe Douglas, Elijah Moore, Mekhi Becton, Michael Carter, Braxton Berrios. Of Super Chats, you cut the line, smash the like button down below. That's that thumbs up icon. Now, let's talk about the New York Jets. Here we go on another Jake Asman show. Let's break down everything going on with the New York Jets. Let's dive into some of those rumors that are out there about some potential prospects that may or may not be a fit for the Jets. And to do that, we bring on the great Will Parkinson from Turn on the Jets. Will, great to get you back on the show. You're always a fan favorite among the Jake Asman Show viewers, so appreciate you carving out some time for us today.
Of course, man. It's a crazy month. I'm trying to get as much sleep on a Sunday night as I can to get myself prepared for these weeks because it's crazy times. It's crazy times. End of free agency, trade market, obviously the draft here, 23 days away.
What's your takeaway on the trade market? We know the Jets want a number one wide receiver. If I say to you, who's more likely to be available, DK Metcalf or A.J. Brown, what would your answer to that question be?
I mean, I would say DK strictly based on situation. If I'm Seattle, I would not move DK Metcalf. He's 24 years old. They have the capability to pay him. They've stockpiled picks. They could go a Malik Willis type person this year and groom them and kind of try to do that mini quick rebuild. They are paying, two safeties top of market value, and they've got Tyler Lockett on a massive contract that's pretty much untradeable. DK is their one asset, right, that they can move. They've still got a competitive roster, good coach, good front office. I understand why the DK rumors are out there. I think if the Jets were to offer a substantially high package, they could probably acquire him. But if I was Seattle, I wouldn't move him. All that said, you understand why with what the Jets have from an asset perspective, why DK would be the name. The AJ Brown stuff I don't really get, and there was some Debo stuff floated. For San Francisco, that makes no sense for them to move him unless they truly could not get a deal done. It would have to be similar to the Tyreek Devontae situation for kind of all of these guys. McLaurin and DK are the guys that make the most sense based on teams that likely are not winning a Super Bowl. McLaurin's a sneaky. I think he's going to be 27 soon. Like, it's the same thing with Calvin Ridley, where they're a little older than you think they are. AJ Brown would be perfect. He's an ideal scheme fit. He's best friends with Elijah Moore. He's an incredible culture guy. He's a big body jump ball receiver, but can make guys miss after the catch. All those things. Like, all these guys would be huge additions, and they're all honestly scheme fits for what the Jets have going. If I had to rank it in terms of most likely to happen, I would say DK 1, McLaurin 2, AJ Brown 3, and Debo 4. Of those 4 2019 guys that are available, quote unquote, potentially available.
What's your takeaway on the compensation for these players? I mean, we know the Jets had a deal done with the Chiefs. It was going to be both second-round picks, 35, 38, and then their third-round pick, 69 overall. Your thoughts on what the package would be for Brown or DK? Is it in the same ballpark? Could it include the 10th overall pick? Just your thoughts on that.
So I was kind of doing a little bit of digging on this morning and trying to kind of just figure out, compensation-wise, why these guys would cost more. They're not as good as Devontae or Tyreek, obviously, who are probably two of the three best receivers in football and have been for quite a long time now. They are 28 and 29 respectively, so that's kind of what comes into it. Tyreek has the off-the-field stuff, obviously, that didn't seem to matter for anybody, although incredibly concerning if you followed me or anybody else. It's not great off the field as much as people want to not talk about it. But it was Tyreek was going to be 35, 38, and I believe 69 for Tyreek and 105. I think it was in the 1,300 range from a points perspective. In terms of value, the that would kind of equate. I think the 4th overall pick is about 1,800. I think number 10 is 1,375 or 1,475. I think you'd probably have to, if I had to guess, to pry one of these guys, specifically the two names on the screen, I think you'd have to give up 10. I'm not sure I agree with it. I think when you look at Tyreek, if you ignore the off the field stuff, and I know, it's very hard to do so. I'm just speaking from on the field perspective. While Tyreek's 28 and, A.J. Brown's 24 and DK's 24, Tyreek is a significantly, he's the most explosive playmaker in football. Him and Debo are the two guys that, the ball's in their hands, they're probably scoring. As great as A.J. Brown and DK are, they are not – they're not quite there yet. They could be, but they're not Tyreek or Devontae. So while age comes into it, it's hard for me to think Joe Douglas is going to sit there and pay a more of a premium on a quote-unquote lesser player. But if it was me and I could figure out a way to trade 10, I'm not sure how much more you'd be giving up. I think maybe it'd be 10 straight up, or 10 and 69 for DK and 42 or something like that, where you're moving around or something. I'm just spitballing there. If the Jets were to give up 10, I would be very surprised if they did not trade back from 35 or 38 to acquire some more capital, whether it be this year or next year, kind of supplement what they gave up. Those two early second round picks are very important, though. And I just don't see a reason why the Jets also couldn't do something of 35 and a conditional 2 that could become a 1 next year, or a conditional, we've seen that a lot happen with Carson Wentz. We saw it with, all these different players where based on snap count and how well they'd play, it could be a better pick. So I would entertain giving up 10. I just, for whatever reason, maybe I'm a stubborn person. I'd be like, so I didn't have to give this up for Tyreek, even though he's, he is 28, which is still in his prime. But I have to give this up for DK or A.J. Brown, who have, a quarter of the 1,000-yard receiving seasons. That's the only thing I would say there. But I think it'd be on the table if they really thought they could get a deal done and they could recoup some assets. I don't see why not.
Here's a question I have for you. Rumors surrounding the Jets. There's a lot that's out there. You sift through a lot of it. You got sources around the league. What rumors surrounding the Jets aren't true that you're willing to come out and say, hey, this is wrong?
Can you give me some examples? I'll kind of try to let me see if I'm trying to think of some ones that I've seen that are crazy. They're not taking a receiver at 4. That's one that I think receivers very much in play at 10. I know some other folks you've had on, kind of were maybe receiver at 10, maybe not. I would be floored, genuinely floored, if there's not a receiver taken by the Jets or traded for in the top 35 picks. Shocked. Truly, I really don't. You don't offer those type of trades for, assets for Tyreek, and they were willing to pay Mike Williams and all these guys. That doesn't happen if you aren't going to take a receiver high. I just don't see receiver at 4. I think the two most likely guys are Jamison Williams and Drake London at 10. I don't think Garrett Wilson gets to 10, and I also don't think he is as diverse of a skill set as Williams and London would be. So that's one of those, I don't know if it's necessarily not true, but I don't think corner or receiver is happening at 4. Sauce is the other one that keeps getting floated at 4. Again, I would be pretty damn surprised. If it's not a trench player, specifically edge, and, Ikwanu's the one wild card, whether that means trading back in, whether that means they just love Ikwanu and they want to kind of plan for life after George Fant or Mekhi Becton. I'd be really surprised if receiver or corner go at 4. That's really high to take either position. And, as much as I like this class for both corner and receiver, this is not prime Patrick Peterson or Darrelle Revis and Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. It's just not that yet. Or they might be, but they're not there yet. So that's one, I think, rumor that I've seen. I would be shocked. Trying to think of some other ones that I've seen that are a little interior defensive line, the top 35. I did a kind of put out a PFF mock draft simulator thing this morning of just, theoretically, if they were to trade back, if the Saints were to move up, what a trade would look like. And I put Jordan Davis in the mock. It wasn't because I would take Jordan Davis or I think the Jets will take Jordan Davis. It was just an example of how many different guys they could potentially get. I would be pretty shocked, again, if they go interior defensive line, the top 35. I think they're going to address interior defensive line and linebacker, but that doesn't feel like those are picks in the top end there. Other rumors that George Fant wants to walk. I saw that out this week. I think the Jets will extend him this summer, this spring/summer. I don't see it being like this 4 or 5 year deal. I think what I've talked to some people will be more of like a 2 year, 3 year extension, kind of add on a year or two after this year at much higher money, kind of the way he's been playing. So those are some other ones. I don't know if there's any other rumors you've had that I could kind of try to squash here, or say there's some steam in them.
So not even maybe a specific Jet related rumor, but just about Kayvon Thibodeaux. What are you hearing about Thibodeaux? Because, you can knock a prospect, and this guy's going to get knocked because he's been in the spotlight. He was the #1 high school recruit. Here he is at Oregon. He goes to Oregon because he wanted to be around Nike. He could have went to Alabama. But some of these knocks, I think, are getting to a point where it's like, enough. The guy's a really good football player. All year, no one said anything about him. He was the first player off everyone's board, and now we nitpick everything about this guy. I see him falling, and if he does fall, someone's going to get a really good player at an absolute steal. So I say all that to basically say the floor is yours. What is the truth about Kayvon Thibodeaux? And then from a Jet perspective, if he's there at 4, would you take him?
So I guess I'll kind of do Kayvon Thibodeaux part first. So if you talk to front office people around the league, I think they are slightly put off sometimes by guys that are just, whatever reason, people look for people that are old school, head down. All they do is watch football. All they do is play. All they eat is meat and potatoes every day. And like they work out 6 times a day and whatever. And they don't read tabloids. They don't have social media. Those people don't really exist anymore. And I think sometimes people look for comfortability, right? How easy is it for the Patriots to draft Mac Jones when they have just had Tom Brady and you can comp their personalities or they look aesthetically similar. So it's like, it's comfortable, right? I want my edge rushers and my receivers and my cornerbacks to have supreme confidence in themselves. You have to. There are positions where you have very little control over the play. You do not call the plays. You don't have the ball in your hand, unless somebody else gives you the ball or you can go take it, right? So I don't have an issue with any of those things. I did hear some people say the interviews, they weren't super impressed with, I care more about my brand. I care about social media. I want to make money. And again, all these things, the difference is, I'll put it this way. There's a lot of things that happen in life, in sports, in politics that kind of are unsaid, right? LeBron is all about his brand at this point in his career. He just doesn't say it. He says he's about winning, but like in the back of his mind, you don't think he's thinking, I moved to LA. It's comfortable for my family. I can make more money. I want to get into Hollywood. The goal, you talk about championships though. Kayvon Thibodeaux is kind of doing the opposite. He cares about winning. All these things are true. He just, when your first thing you say is about your brand, people instantly think you don't care about anything else. I don't think that's true. What I will say is coaches I've spoken to around the league think, don't buy any of this noise. This is a lot of people saying, how can we get him to keep falling? How can we put stuff out there and go, if you were Atlanta, are you not going, man, I'd love to put some stuff out there right now to think, how can we get him to 8? Because we would have never guessed he's going to be 8. I don't think the Jets thought he was ever going to be available at 4. And it looks like, Connor Rogers, I think, said on Badlands this week, 90% chance he's there at 4.
So I think he will be, because my sense is being down here in Houston, the Texans will take Icky or Neal at 3. Yeah. And if the Lions take Walker, or I don't know, maybe they go Willis at 2. I don't think that's going to happen, but they take Walker at 2. I think Thibodeaux makes it to 4. And Will, what am I missing? This guy led college football in pressure rate. If they don't take him at 4, he goes to the Giants at 5 and then becomes their next great pass rusher like Strahan, OC, Tuck, JPP. You had a tweet earlier this week about John Abraham, how dominant he was with the Jets. They haven't had that guy since. Take Thibodeaux if he's there at 4.
It's crazy is there's 4 prospects I think that I think you see pretty commonly mocked to the Jets across outlets, evaluators, everything is Kwanu and Neal from the offensive line perspective, and then you see generally Thibodeaux and Sauce Gardner at 4. I think it's the kind of consensus. Guys, every single person in those mocks that's not picked by the Jets goes to the Giants at 5 and 7. Exactly. Every single time. And the Panthers sometimes take the tackle or whatever. They could go quarterback. There's a lot kind of there. The Giants are going to end up with 2 really good players, and it's going to determine a lot of what the Jets do. I think the Jets love Ike Ekwonu. I've heard they are really, really high on him. That's the one player that I think you could convince me it's a smokescreen to get someone to kind of move up and pay a premium to kind of move up for Ekwonu. But again, like you said, Houston, it feels like they're going to take one of the tackles there. They pair him with Tunsil, and Tunsil moves on. They kind of build things that way. I don't know. I'd take him at 4. I would. I don't really have a lot. I think a guy like that comes to New York. The difference is what people don't understand. So in college, right, like he was, branding deals and stuff, and all those things are true. And now with the NIL stuff, Kayvon Thibodeaux made a lot of money, made himself a lot of money this year. You don't think that he's going to want to play hard to get that second contract and that third contract if it's all about money for him? Like, you don't think he's going to go, I need to go get X amount of sacks if we win, and I know if I win in New York. Like, you have to remember, like, just because someone's all about money, a lot of people are all about money. Darrelle Revis all about money. He wasn't not playing hard in the AFC Championship game, being the best player in football. Like, he won a Super Bowl, and he almost made 2 other ones. So it's not like he was some schmuck. Yeah, in year 13, Revis botched it on a tackle in the Chiefs playoff game. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get worked up about not drafting Kayvon Thibodeaux because something happened 15 years ago. I'd feel comfortable drafting him. I think the Jets will take him if he's there at 4. Again, I think Ekwonu is the wild card. If not, Thibodeaux to me is the highest ceiling guy there. I've not heard the Jets are like all over Trayvon Walker. I'm sure there's interest there, but I don't even think he's getting to 4. So I'm not sure it's a debate. Jermaine Johnson's more of a lower ceiling, higher floor guy. He's a good player. I think at 10, I'd feel more comfortable. And then Sauce Gardner's the other guy at 4 that you see. And I just don't see the Jets taking a corner at 4 after just paying DJ Reed. And then now it's like you've kind of made Brandon Echols and Bryce Hall pretty much obsolete at that point at corner, which is fine if you want to keep upgrading. I just think Robert Saleh is all about edge pressure and Joe Douglas is about offensive line. It would shock me if it's not a trench player. And I think Kayvon Thibodeaux will be the pick, if not Ike Ekwonu.
I totally agree with you. And, I go back to what Robert Saleh said last month. If you want the secondary to be better, fix the pass rush. And from a Joe Douglas standpoint, Will, the Jets have had success drafting corners in day 3 of the draft. Bryce Hall, Brandon Echols, Michael Carter. Sauce Gardner at 4 doesn't fit the profile of a Joe Douglas pick. So I think if Thibodeau's there at 4, you take him. And if he's not there at 4, I would consider taking another edge rusher, whether it's Jermaine Johnson or maybe if they love Karlaftis. I mean, I'm more willing to do that than I feel like taking a player that doesn't necessarily fit the team's biggest need right now. And I'm not saying you just reach for the sake of reaching, but if they grade some of these edge rushers higher on the board than other people do, like, I'm going to defer to Saleh's judgment on that because he would know, being the defensive-minded coach that he is.
I just think you got to look at trends too, right? Like, I don't just look at the way the Niners approach the draft. And again, it's hard because Joe Douglas was not actually the GM of the Eagles and Robert Saleh was not the head coach or GM of the 49ers. But these guys have influence. Joe Douglas obviously had a lot of influence in Philly as well. And it's just they've only drafted outside of Zach. It's round 1 has been offensive line. Round 2 has been receiver, both years for Joe Douglas. Now they have 2 top 10 picks, so it's a little different, and you can kind of, they have 4 top 38 picks, so it's a little different. But edge and receiver and offensive line are the 3 most important, and then cornerback are the 4 most important non-quarterback positions in football. And guess what? The Jets have technically holes at all 4 positions. They kind of fixed, some of the stuff on offensive line. They've kind of fixed corner. Edge is a massive issue, and so is receiver, and they're in a perfect spot to grab edge 2 or edge 1, depending upon where he's on your board, in Kayvon Thibodeaux, and they have a chance to grab any of the top 4 receivers on anyone's board, likely. Maybe one goes to Atlanta, but other than that, like, they're in a really good spot, and I don't see this. I'm struggling with, like, based on scheme, edge rusher is it's more important than anything on this roster pretty much. And they have like 1.5 edge rushers that maybe I'll go 2 full edge rushers you can rely on. You kind of half of Carl Lawson because you don't really know what he's going to be. Bryce Huff's a really good situational player, so I'll give him a half, and then you have JFM. And that's it. And they play 7-8 guys a game for 30-40 snaps minimum. They rotate a ton. That's something that I think people have kind of forgotten about. Oh, why'd they sign Solomon Thomas or Jacob Martin or these other guys? They have Rankins and Q. Nathan Shepard played a lot of snaps last year, and Phillips and all these guys, they played a ton of snaps. So my point in all this is to say, like, if I was a betting man right now, I'd bet on Kayvon Thibodeaux being the pick.
So that's
the odds.
I like it. So let's do it like this, right? Your prediction for the first round. So you're saying Thibodeaux at 4.
I think they go Thibodeaux, Drake London is I would say receiver wise, I think 40% London, 40% Jamison Williams, 15 Garrett Wilson, and 5% combination of Olave or Burks. Maybe 10% to Olave and Burks, but I think London and Williams the most likely. Wilson is, again, a really nice player, and I think he's wide receiver 1 on a lot of people's boards. A, I don't think he'll be there, and B, he's just a little bit more similar skill set than London or Williams could provide to be more dynamic in this offense.
Can you talk about Drake London? A lot of thoughts on Drake London, but I like talking to you about him because you watched him. You're a USC fan, so you watched him up close. You have a unique perspective on it. What your thoughts on his game and this notion that he doesn't separate that I see has been put out there by some?
So super physical. He's really twitchy for being 6'4", 220. Like really sudden and twitchy. I think he's got really good hips. I think he moves well. I think he breaks tackles. I think he separates really well early. Do I think he's a guy? This is where like the separation thing is different, right? Treylon Burks is going to separate a lot. 25 yards down the field, running a deep post or running a go ball or running a wheel route. Treylon Burks might not separate the same though. 0 through 20. Similar thing, Jamison Williams kind of just always separates. That's who he is. And Olave and Wilson are smaller guys who separate, again, more vertically. Drake London's going to be – he gets open both from size, but also he's a very good route runner. He's got good hips. He's able to kind of separate. He gets out of breaks quickly. Again, I played receiver and tight end at pretty much the same size. I was almost maybe a little heavier than him, but – like it's very rare for someone to not have quite as much long speed, but have this really good suddenness and quickness at that size. And I think you watch London run a dig route, speed in over the middle, try to make this as simple as possible, speed outs and, and curls and comebacks and these things and slants and all that stuff. He played almost exclusively quote unquote big slot, which is a very popular thing in the NFL today. Obviously, if you watch the Chiefs or you watch the Packers and all these different offenses, Devontae Adams played a lot of slot this year, and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase too. They get these guys. If you look, this is a play I'd love. I think Chris Sims mentioned this play on his podcast. He's breaking down his wide receiver rankings. Play in the Super Bowl that Odell caught that second touchdown on. They kind of let Odell out of the slot. He ran a slot fade. So he kind of ran to the back corner of the end zone. Odell went up, high point the ball, caught it. You're going to see a lot of teams start to pull that play. I'm not sure there'll be a better person next year to run it with in the NFL next year than Drake London. He's, again, contested catches is great, but he makes guys miss. I think he had 46 or 47% of his yards after catch this year. You can watch tons of clips. He's 3, 4, 5 guys trying to tackle him. So the Jets could use him. They like to use Elijah Moore outside. They like to use Corey Davis outside as well. Obviously, you could use Drake London in the slot and get him matched up where he's going to be matched up on safeties and linebackers and can cook them, right? Or you move him outside and Elijah inside. So he fits the scheme. Again, things to focus on, obviously the contested catches and the athleticism, but much twitchier than I think people realize. Again, not going to separate at this elite rate running fades and wheel routes and posts, but the Jets don't necessarily need that. They can also add another game breaker later in the draft. That's a quote unquote speed guy. Cole Hardman, Byron Pringle type player, or MVS or any of those type of guys the Packers have.
One more wide receiver question for you. You mentioned Jamison Williams. I love him. If he was there at 10, fully healthy, I mean, to me, it'd be my receiver of choice.
I don't think you're alone in that.
Right. What are you hearing about his ACL injury recovery timeline? Because I'm all about taking him, but I don't want him to miss a lot of next year when the GM came out and said we're trying to be competitive into December. Well, rookies take a while to adjust to the NFL. On top of the fact this guy's probably going to miss the start of the year. What are you hearing about his recovery? Like, when can Jet fans expect Williams to be healthy and play in a game if they were to take him at number 10?
So I know Adam Schefter reported in time for training camp, he might be able to be practicing. I don't see him being full speed, ready to go day one. I think something I've heard, and I think the Jets have been pretty clear about this, they want Zach to have some chemistry with these guys, right? Last year it was all over the place. Again, Elijah Moore missed a lot of camp, and Corey Davis missed some practices, and Zach wasn't even there the first 3 days because of the stupid contract thing that we kind of all forgot about, which was really annoying, obviously, as a Jets fan. I think they want someone there day one of OTAs, day one of camp, to be able to be building chemistry with Zach, and Zach to go in with a really nice core group. I'm not concerned about Jamison Williams long term. I think somehow ACLs in today's modern medicine have become like sprained ankles. Like, guys are coming back in 7-8 months and they look faster and more explosive. Obviously, Cam Akers is going to become the poster child for the Achilles and how he came back in 4 months. I still think about, Adrian Peterson tearing his ACL on December 15th against the Redskins in Washington and coming back 9 months later and winning MVP. Like, I'm not concerned about Williams. I do think the Jets are going to maybe prioritize going, we like Jamison Williams, but like he's not going to be ready till week 3, week 4 to be 100% fully healthy. And can we risk a top 10 pick on having Zach have 3 or 4 games without his quote unquote like go-to guy that we just drafted him? Again, is it smart? I'm not sure. I really don't, right? The Jets are not a Super Bowl contender this year, but at the same time, you can't afford the Jets to be 0-6 and Zach to be 4 touchdowns, 12 interceptions in week 5 or 6. The fan base is going to lose it. So you got to there's a balance there, but I'm not concerned long-term. There's a little bit of concern taking him at 10 that high.
I'm totally with you there. He's Will Parkinson. My name is Jake Asman. We'll do a couple more for Will here. I do want to talk about our sports betting sponsor. That's BUSR. Will, I know you're a gambling man, so if you need a sports book, you should use BUSR. Head over to busr.com/Asman. Sign up today. They got live betting. They have obviously future bets. I said this earlier in the week, but I have my Tiger Woods to win the Masters bet placed, and I'm all in on it. Why not? Let's go Tiger. Looking forward to watching them at the Masters. You can bet on Tiger. You can bet on really any sport that you want. UFC, boxing, really anything is available at BUSR. Plus, you have draft odds. So if you want to bet on who you think the Jets will pick with that 4th overall pick, head over to busr.com/Asman and join all the fun. BUSR is my official sports book. They should be yours too. Top-notch customer service. They're going to be accommodating to your needs. So check it out. Link is in the description for this video. Head on over to busr.com/Asman. All right, well, a couple more for you. I want your take on this. I think there's a chance the Jets trade back into the first round. They use their resources and they identify someone sliding that they want to make a move for. Give me a couple guys that you think could be in play if the Jets wanted to move back into the first round.
So these are all guys, in my opinion, this will be these are just going to be names. I don't know in terms of, if they went receiver at 10, they're not going to trade up for, Burks or Williams or one of these guys falling, or Olave. But if they were to start falling, and I would be shocked if any of the 5 receivers are still there, probably by 22 or 21 now. But maybe they fall a little bit. I've seen, Burks in Buffalo, which would suck from a Jets perspective. There are no way they're covering Diggs, Burks, and all these guys, Gabriel Davis. But Burks, some of the top 5 receivers, whoever starts to fall, if the Jets don't go receiver at 4 and 10, you could see them trade up. Linderbaum's the one that is the most interesting, right? I don't think Connor McGovern's the long-term answer at center. I don't think it's a physical ability thing. I think there's some other questions there that I think the Jets are not they're not scared to move on and clear $10 million and upgrade potentially at center there. So if Linderbaum's, if he's there at 35, I'd be shocked they don't take him. But if he's there at 27, 28, you start saying, can we package, 35 and 108 to go move up there, something of that nature. You could see that. I mentioned Stingley in a tweet earlier this week. If his foot's healthy, he's not going to start falling. He is a absurd athlete. He's built in the lab. He's 6'4" or 6'2", 200 pounds, elite speed, elite hands, all this stuff. But for whatever reason, the Jets go. Let's say the Jets go Thibodeaux, London, just the way we kind of planned it out. They're sitting there at 20, 21, 22, and Stingley's still on the board. If you're Joe Douglas, do you think about going, can we have our starting corners next year be a guy who was probably the projected number 2 or 3 overall pick 6 months ago? The other guy that we got, Thibodeaux, Stingley, and Drake London out of a class, you start really going, okay, now there's some future here. So Stingley and Linderbaum are the 2 guys that are like the big name prospects that might fall for other reasons. And then again, I think the receivers. The only other position group I could see the Jets moving up for, and we'll see what happens here, there's a group of about 3 or 4 really good safeties that are going to go between like 25 and 40. Jaquan Brisker, Lewis Cine, who's probably the best of the bunch, Daxton Hill, who's now in both Jeremiah and I believe McShay's top 20 players, period, and they're on their big board. I may have mixed up McShay with somebody else, but it doesn't really matter. It's been on Jeremiah's like 18th or 19th best player for a while. if they're there at 27, 28, and the Jets go, we can totally revolve our safety room into Joyner, Seen, and Whitehead, and Ashton Davis is our 4, or Jason Pinnock's our 4. Now you feel really good about this defense. You kind of got huge upgrades at safety, upgrades at corner, huge upgrades at defensive line. Now you start to feel really good about the defense. So Linderbaum and Stingley are the 2 big name guys I would watch just in case they start falling. Again, centers. Linderbaum's a little smaller. He's perfect fit for the Jets scheme. About 10 or 12 teams Linderbaum's perfect for. The other ones he's not. Stingley is the injury concerns and some of the inconsistency this year. And then the receivers, if they don't go receiver at 10, and safety is the one, I think, position that they could wait till 35. But if they love one of these guys, you could see them move up, mid-20s, late 20s to try to go grab a Seen, Hill, or Brisker, something like that.
Will, my last question to you involving the Jets. Could they double up on wide receiver in the first round, and then someone somehow is there at 35 or 38? Could the Jets double up on wide receiver?
Yes. I think receiver and edge are the 2 positions where you could see the Jets double up to 2 top 100 picks, 2 top 70 picks, because they have 69 also. I don't think it's likely, but if I don't know. I haven't heard the Jets don't like Corey Davis anymore, but if they wanted to, they could get out of Corey Davis' money the second next season ends for nothing, right? So they have 3 receivers on their roster right now that I would consider above average NFL level players. I'm not going down the Denzel Mims rabbit hole right now. And then outside of the starting 3 guys, which would be more Davis and Berrios, it's Jeff Smith. It's Lawrence Cager, who's now a tight end. There's literally nothing there. And I expect them to probably add a veteran or a day 3 pick, a Calvin Austin to be someone like that, or Dubs and different guys like that. But sure, it's if Christian Watson falls and they opt to go with the smaller guy, or, they go with Garrett Wilson at 10, Christian Watson sitting there, and maybe the Jets go, we're going to go, we're going to double up here. I wouldn't say it's likely. Again, same thing with edge. If Boyd Mafe is there at 35 or 38 and they love him, but they've already gone Thibodeaux, and they go, we're going to double up here. Again, not likely, but crazier things have happened. It'd be more shocking if they doubled up at O-line. I'll tell you that much.
No doubt. You can follow Will on Twitter at WillPa11. Will, I heard a rumor that Zach Wilson's going to be throwing you passes. He's looking for a, big time former Division III wide receiver that could catch everything. Is this true?
Yeah, this is true. It's I will be attending. I'll be flying out. Me and Denzel Mims on the same flight together out there. No, I've offered to run some routes. I'm not going to name who it was, but I was actually almost supposed to run routes to help one of the quarterback prospects in this year's class kind of get loose when there was the COVID restrictions of people that were tested to be there. I was going to run some routes, but it didn't end up happening. There was no space, but coming to a field near you soon. Legs are getting old, but it's okay. We'll make it work.
I love it. Tell everyone about the podcast, where they could get it, and what do you have coming up.
Yeah. So again, Turn on the Jets. And Apple, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Again, Jake mentioned Twitter down below. It's for all my socials. Next week, Ryan Clark, Brad Spielberger, Mike Renner will be on the pod. Pretty cool. Eli Manning will be coming on the pod. Eli Manning, as you know, not Jets fan favorite, but he'll be coming on. Connor Rogers is on in 2 weeks, and Mike Tannenbaum as well. So me and you have some overlap there, but there's a lot of good people kind of give you insight both from a pro level, draft level perspective, and get to ask Eli a lot about kind of Zach Wilson and how he sees him developing, and just kind of rebuilding, being a struggling rookie, big name guy in New York. And, as much as people want to say whatever, he won 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and,
the Hall of Famer. So they can say whatever you want. So
I would cut off toes to watch a playoff game, let alone, win 2 Super Bowls. So, it's pretty exciting stuff. And, it's, we're going to keep it cooking on the channel and see what happens.
There you go. He's Will. I'm Jake. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button on the right-hand side of your screen. Continue to help this channel grow. Spread the word. Tell every Jet fan the best Jets content you can find on YouTube is right here on this channel. Please hit the like button as well down below. That also helps the channel grow. And if you want Jet content away from YouTube, my Twitter and Instagram is at Jake Asman. Links are in the description for this video. You could follow me there. Check out Will's podcast, Turn on the Jets, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll continue to have more Jets-related content throughout the week. Have a good one, everybody.